In the complex world of politics, we often find ourselves clinging to ideologies or institutions that promise change but ultimately fail to deliver. We are told that new policies will solve our problems, that new leaders will right the ship, and that our voices matter in the direction of governance. Yet, time and time again, the overwhelming reality is one of political complacency, ineffective leadership, and a failure to address the true needs of society. The political system, as it stands today, is not a force for positive change. It is a machine that perpetuates itself, a complex web of bureaucratic inertia that continues to grow more detached from the citizens it purports to serve. The time has come for a fundamental re-evaluation of how we view our politicians, our governments, and our expectations of them. Politicians across the board have mastered the art of appeasing public sentiment without ever truly acting on it. In recent years, we've witnessed more empty promises, more grand speeches, and more grandiose ideas paraded before us, yet the reality on the ground hasn't changed. Politicians stand in front of the cameras, make promises to the people, and then retreat into their comfortable, well-protected offices, surrounded by a network of advisors, lobbyists, and special interests, completely insulated from the very issues they claim to understand. They nod in agreement to the policies that secure their political future but avoid the hard decisions that would require true leadership. At best, we are left with half measures, and at worst, we are left with a disillusioned electorate, cynical and fatigued by the constant cycle of political theater that does nothing to address the real issues. This isn't just a failure of individual politicians, it's a failure of the system itself. When politicians are more concerned with their re-election campaigns than the people they are supposed to serve, the result is a political landscape dominated by short-term thinking. The most pressing issues of our time, climate change, economic inequality, healthcare reform, are all too often reduced to sound bites and talking points, conveniently shelved until the next election cycle. If a politician is not willing to risk their political career on making the hard decisions, then they should not be trusted to lead. The absence of bold, courageous leadership is the root of much of our dissatisfaction with the political system. But let's not forget the role of the electorate. Voters are equally complicit in this state of affairs. It is easy to blame politicians for their lack of integrity or vision, but we too must take a long, hard look at our own complacency. Too often, we choose candidates based on the illusion of change, rather than demanding real accountability and substance. We are lulled into a false sense of security by the spectacle of politics, passively consuming the narrative spun for us, without ever holding our elected officials accountable for their failure to deliver meaningful change. The electorate has become a passive participant in its own political fate, content to accept the crumbs tossed by those in power, rather than demanding the full meal they are entitled to. It is time for a shift in the way we think about governance. We need to stop viewing politics as a series of calculated moves made for the sake of re-election, and start viewing it as a service to the people. Politics should not be a game, nor should it be a mechanism for securing power. It should be about service, about building a society that works for everyone, not just the privileged few. When was the last time we saw a leader willing to make a decision that would cost them politically, but benefit the country in the long run? When was the last time we saw a politician look beyond their next election and truly grapple with the long-term challenges facing society? It is time to demand that our leaders think and act with the future in mind, not just the next election cycle. A true democracy is built on the understanding that those in power are not just stewards of a nation's resources, but are responsible for the well-being of its citizens. It is time to abandon the illusion of bipartisanship and the facade of political unity. The reality is that politics is a battlefield, and only those willing to fight for the people, not the system, deserve our support. A politician's allegiance should lie with the people, not with the party apparatus that keeps them in power. If we continue to accept the status quo, we will continue to be trapped in a cycle of broken promises, political expediency, and hollow rhetoric. Make no mistake, the political system is not broken because of a few bad apples. It is broken because it has become a self-perpetuating machine that prioritizes power over principle. It is broken because we have allowed it to be. As long as we continue to engage in politics with our eyes closed, looking for quick fixes or easy solutions, we will continue to see the same problems play out year after year. We need to stop asking for more of the same and start demanding more from our political leaders. The time for change is now, and it begins with each and every one of us refusing to settle for the status quo. The question is no longer whether or not we are satisfied with the way things are. It is whether or not we are willing to fight for something better. If we want a government that serves the people, we must first demand it. Only then can we begin to envision a political system that is truly responsive to the needs of its citizens.